Good evening, everyone. Today is September 10, 2024, and it is 6:32 p.m. I would like to call to order this meeting of the Public Safety Committee of the Holyoke City Council. As Jenny Rivera, I am honored to serve as the chairperson of this committee. Before we begin our agenda, I'd like to take a moment to introduce the members of our committee. We have to my left, Councilor Patty Devine, and to my right, Councilor Israel Rivera. Present today, we have Councilor Cocaine Givner. We also have Nicole Arnold, online we have Megan McGrath-Smith. In chambers, we have Nicole Arnold. Online, we have Lawrence Osborne, Timothy Rivers, and that's about it, right? Today's meeting is being held in chambers and is being broadcasted on the public access channel. It is also available for viewing via Zoom and on the city website. Please note that we are recording this meeting for documentation purposes. And
Entertain a motion to take up item 1.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes of
Second that motion.
May 14th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Entertain a motion to take up item 2.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item number 2, filed on October 3rd, 2023 by Councilor Givner, ordered with community support, Sylvia Lane residents have expressed health and safety concerns regarding the encampment behind McNulty Park and their cul-de-sac. There are several homeless people living in the area. There is an abundance of trash and other concerning happenings. Although not as noticeable with trees have full foliage, the fall and winter expose a serious quality of life issues visible for both the housed and unhoused. This must be addressed. This was tabled back on May 14, 2024. And should we start with Councilor Givner, being you're here in chambers?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I filed this order after speaking with residents on Sylvan Lane Sylvia Lane. And at the time, you could really, when there's less foliage, you can really see the encampments back there. From McNulty Park, if you walk around up there, you can see where people are dumping trash right down the hill there. So there's definitely some issues. I spoke with Tom Reynolds from the Parks Department because I asked him, what the possibilities are of the Parks Department putting up fencing, cleaning it up and putting up fencing so that it's less likely for people to walk back there. He mentioned that there have been some cleanup efforts, but he usually has to call the Board of Health to get assistance because there's dangerous things like needles, and people cleaning up have actually been hurt. So I filed this order because it's a quality of life issue, and yeah, I'm just hoping to see what's being done and what can be done to help rectify this.
So as far as the Sylvia Lane, we did some research since the last time. We thought it was state property. I provided you a map of the encampments in the city, the known encampments that ended up being city property. So the Board of Health doesn't have funding to clean up city property. I don't know what they did in the past, but we don't have funds, and we also don't provide the OSHA requirements. I haven't talked to Tom, but I have talked to the DPW about this. They, said somebody got stuck with a needle. They can call Tapestry in those cases. But like I said, I don't know where they would have gotten the funding for city property because we don't have a funding source for that. We have a professional health services line item that is sometimes used for like some of the animals that we bring, different things with that, but that's only like $10,000 in our budget. So as far as that funding source, I don't know exactly what it is. I did reach out with the law department and we talked about our vacant building revolving fund, but it doesn't have a vacant building on the property, so that would be a stretch to use it for public property that should be maintained by the DPW. As far as encampments go in general, on those properties, I've been working with CHD and community, different community partners they've been doing some outreach for us on our end. The Board of Health doesn't dismantle encampments. As far as that part goes, that would most likely be the police. And we don't, currently with shelter issues that we have in the state, I know I provided that before this meeting too, there's not really anywhere for those people in those encampments to go at this time. Judging from the last minutes from the Western Mass Task Force Housing First. If you guys saw where I highlighted, the individual shelters are full across Springfield, Northampton. CHD shelters are filled. There's nowhere to go. Individual shelters in Amherst are full, 6 to 10 individuals every day. It's right now, it's pretty much a state issue. It seems to be a crisis. So as far as like the cleanup of the trash goes, I can't tell you how that funding source was available for the Parks Department in the past. I guess I could look into it and see how that was used, but yeah, we don't provide like protective gear for other departments. We have masks and different Board of Health items, but we don't provide that.
Madam Chair.
Oh, additionally too, one other thing too is when they do give us a date on the whenever they do decide to clean up or dismantle the encampments, we have asked for a 2-week notice to provide that to CHD. That's, at this point, that's what I have.
I guess then my follow-up question would be, whose responsibility is it to deal with all this? Because I'm hearing there's not a budget item to clean up. I thought this was a Board of Health, in the Board of Health wheelhouse. I could be wrong, but
No,
it doesn't really
we
matter
don't.
whose wheelhouse it's in. We need, like, who do we ask to deal with this?
We do, and we need, if you look at the paperwork I provided for you, it needs to be a multi-department. Currently, I'm meeting with CHD about these encampments. Maybe we should broaden that to the other departments. If you look at in Principle 1 under the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness, it says we should have a multi-department, and I guess that's what we need to do. Maybe establish some kind of group or invite them to those meetings as well. At this time, I know I asked, I was kind of being like a liaison to the rail division, and you know, at this point, if the DPW needs to meet with them and decide where the next steps are as well, I don't know if they've done that at this time. They don't have a date or anything. I know there was a encampment walkthrough. CHD did go to this walkthrough. I think DPW showed up at the tail end of it. But if you look here, it's establishing a cross-agency, multi-sector response to encampments. So another thing I did write to the mayor months ago that our Board of Health suggested reaching out to the governor because it's not under one department's purview. And right now it's, there's community development funds. I was in a meeting that you know, the Jerry McCafferty from Springfield was talking about how there might be some HUD funding that could be used, and she was going to reach out to Alicia. I can't speak on community development funding because I don't know exactly what that plan is in place, or how those funds can be used. But I do know that there were some workings in the background to speak with her about some of the different avenues. As far as shelter in general, they're very nervous about the winter because, like I said, this is a statewide crisis. So I think the next point would be to, you know, have a multi-collaboration between departments.
You good?
Thank you.
Councilor Rivera?
Thank you. So you touched on one of the topics I was going to bring up, which was working in collaboration with other departments. I would think that it would still be in the purview of the Board of Health, but for capacity's sake, with the size of our government and the size of Holyoke and what we struggle with regards to finances, obviously capacity's sake, you'd have to work with another department to get a lot of this done. But I think for me is like, wouldn't it be similar work that the Flex Squad is doing on the weekends?
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, they kind of do this already. They just do it in certain sections of the city. I think that it's great that we have a multi-departmental approach, but it's just unfortunate that it feels like this is just happening or having a conversation about it now, because you think that with like the public safety issues we have and quality of life issues we have, we'd have conversations happening consistently so we can identify goals that we can strive towards as a community overall. But one of the things I think I wanted to kind of like touch on briefly is the overall crisis. It is a significant crisis in not just the state, it's over technically the country. But I think that there are certain communities that it impacts more than it does others. So throughout the state, it is a crisis, right? But the encampments are not found in the other surrounding communities like they are in Holyoke or in Springfield. You'd find them in Northampton here and there. You'd probably find them in Amherst here and there. You wouldn't find them in Agawam, Long Meadow, or South Hadley, more than likely. They'd be pushed over to Holyoke to come over here and, on our side and do the encampment piece. So I think for me, it's like I don't want to push nobody out, but the reality is just like we have to find a balance and we have to take some form of an approach where we're planning and setting certain goals so that way we can measure our goals in a sense, right? How are we doing this way, or what is working and what is not working? I know that's you're new into the role, Tim, so it's not you per se, but I think it's for us as a government altogether within the community to strive in that direction. I just kind of wanted to point that out, and thank you for explaining.
And another thing too, I want to point out too, is a lot of our homeless are individual homeless, and we have a lot of, substance abuse and OUD. And part of a reason why you might find, like, even if so if you move, let's say you move, I'll give you an example of, I condemned 2 hotel rooms in the past and then a unsuited housing. I ended up finding those people on High Street when I rode by. If what they need is here, they're gonna stay here. So whether you take them out of a tent by a river, they're still going to be here if what they're seeking is here. So I think just in general, some of the problems we have with opioids, I think you can move people around, but you're just going to move them around. They're homeless because they're homeless. So I think one of the reasons why you might not find that in other communities is we have a significant problem with drugs.
And I think one last thing I wanted to say was, do you guys, or does your department take training just like on like picking up needles and all that stuff?
No, we call Tapestry.
So okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll have Counselor Patty Devine, then we'll have Nicole, and then we'll have Counselor Meg McGrath.
Yeah, and looking at this, and it's, first of all, it went to the Board of Health, which is the right place to go, but it probably should also go to Parks and Rec, the Flex Squad, like Counselor Rivera said, and the mayor, and maybe they need to meet with this particular problem before the winter time. I don't know what the solution is, but it's certainly worth pursuing, especially with winter coming.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yep.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know.
As long as the green light's showing.
All right. So thank you, Cocaine, too, for bringing this up and mentioning the quality of life issue for both the housed and unhoused, because it's for everybody. And I don't want to demean either side of that, because it's not fair for either side to have this going on. With this, if you guys look at this Interagency Council on Homelessness, it's very simple. It's a large issue, but it's kind of simplified on what we need to do. But it can't just be one department, as we talked about. It has to be everyone working together. Funding is always an issue, but we do have some really great resources that are willing to help out. CHD is a wealth of knowledge. They have some funding that they're willing to bring into Holyoke. We just have to work with them. And I think that's amazing that we don't have to utilize our funds. We can utilize the professionals who are willing to bring it to us. So if you guys can please, just like if you have the opportunity to reach out or go to one of the health meetings with Tim, that he does meet with them, and they've already got the wheelhouse going. They just need the acceptance of the city to help out when it comes to the unhoused population. You mentioned the other cities as well, and I understand that we might be a city that we see a little bit more of the unhoused popping up. One of the things that I think in some of the other cities that we may not see it is those cities criminalize being poor. And I think that that's something that we do here I think Holyoke's great for not criminalizing the poor. Poverty is not a crime. I understand that it is a quality of life issue for both sides, but if we can keep that in mind as well, that's my request from the Board of Health side of it, because being unhoused is also a health disparity that we unfortunately as a city do help our people. So I think that's a benefit of ours. As I do see it, it can be a negative when we look and say, why isn't Agawam dealing with it, right? But that's a positive on our side as well. So just to mention that. Also, there was one other thing I wanted to bring up, Principle 4 and 5, which is huge on here. And it kind of, addresses the basic needs and storage and shelter, which comes into the trash issue sometimes, right? Some things, what we think might be trash is somebody's belongings. That doesn't give it the right to have it on somebody's lawn, but there are options to provide storage as well. So if we can provide storage, other cities and towns have done that. In other states, is providing storage for the unhoused to keep their belongings. We have a lot of buildings in this city. We have a lot of unused space. It's as simple as just providing someone storage. And I guarantee, and I can tell you, I work with the unhoused population often. If they had a place to put their belongings, they would utilize it.
Sure.
And that's a solution. I might think it's more simple than, I'm looking at it from a, non-business side of it, and I do acknowledge that. But, just simple storage, and if we could do that, a lot of people would love to keep their things there. Just keep in mind, these are people who might have had a house last year, and with our economy the way it is, don't anymore, and they have what they have that we might think is trash is their personal belongings that they really care for. So that's just, if I can have you guys just think of that stuff when you're looking into it. And we are always open to questions, and we would love, like I said, I work with this population. I would love to take you guys and meet some of the unhoused, as I know many of you have, but just to hear their stories and hear why they're homeless and why Holyoke. I hear often that these are not Holyoke residents. They are. And I just want to also request that we think of what is a Holyoke resident. What makes somebody a Holyoke resident? Do you have to be born here? Do you have to own a house? Do you have to rent an apartment? A Holyoke resident is somebody who maybe lives in a tent on the side of the road. To me, that's a Holyoke resident too, and they're just as important as the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Meg McGrath?
Hi, I had a question around, at McNulty, there always used to be a trash can that was connected to the sign, the metal pole with a sign there for McNulty. And I don't know when it was removed, but it was probably within the last few days or maybe a week. And I had a constituent that reached out to Parks and Rec, and they said it was removed because people were using it to put their residential trash in. And I don't know, I can't say for certain that it's connected to the encampments that are right behind McNulty, but I think it may be connected. And that trash can is now gone, and as a result, people are now like bagging their trash, like to their credit, like they're like in plastic bags, and they've tied them carefully, and they put them where the trash can used to be. And the city hasn't picked it up. It's been several days, and I don't know exactly what that means and what we should be doing about that. But I do think that if there is a certain amount of trash and people are trying to figure out how to dispose it, then what can we be doing through the Board of Health, or is it DPW? Is it Parks and Rec, right? Like, it's just because of where this encampment is, there's like a number of different departments involved. Like, who's responsible for helping them figuring out where to put their trash? So they're not cascading it down the hill like I just heard described, or placing it in bags near where the trash can used to be. Clearly people are trying to figure out how to properly dispose of trash, and we should be trying to figure out how to help them do that.
As far as that goes, the Board of Health enforces on private property. So if it's a trash can that's provided by the DPW, or if it's on Parks and Rec property, it would be the city's responsibility. We do enforcement, like if you on your property didn't have a trash barrel, or, we would write you a notice of violation. But if it came to us, we would refer it to the DPW.
Well, in this case, it seems like the trash can has just been removed. But that still doesn't solve the problem, which is that people are trying to figure out where to put their trash. And right now they're like clustering it around where the trash can used to be. And if we don't want them to put it there, because the trash can was very small, right? It was this like tiny little recreational metal can, then should we be providing trash cans in that area that the DPW services? Like, it's an address?
I will write to Carl Rossi about that. You said right under the McNulty sign was and then maybe a possibility of like a few more items there.
Or elsewhere, right? Like, we know that people walk down through the path, right? Where the metal gate is, like just further down the road to the left. So is it that there is a trash can there where people can put their waste from that encampment that it is picked up? I mean, just the reality is that they are going to create trash. And where are we expecting them to put it other than down the hill if we're not providing them a place to put it?
Right. So I'll write to Carl on that, and I'll CC you so you know that I did.
I have it.
And hopefully maybe we can get that more trash cans over there if the city can be responsible for that. And it might be something with Tom as well. So I'll put him on the email as well.
Thank you.
I just sent you an email, Tim, with the picture. I was sent the picture right before the meeting, so I just forwarded it to you so you could see what they're talking about. It shows the trash and the sign, McNulty, and no trash can.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, they're just putting it there. Okay.
Councilor Gibbler?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one more question. So I have heard recently that some organizations are giving those that are unhoused tents. I can imagine they're not giving them a place to set up these tents. So there's a lot going on here. Everybody wants to be helpful, but quite frankly, Holyoke enables a lot of these things. Like, if you don't tell people, hey, there's this city property or there's this camp area for you to set up, they're going to set up wherever they can find space. So I wonder also, the types of organizations or the organizations that are trying to help people, are they really helping, or are they just creating another problem? I feel for people, and I understand we don't have enough shelters and beds for people, but when we keep putting Band-Aids on things, giving somebody a tent is like telling them, hey, go camp in the woods, or go wherever you can, go to your I mean, not everybody has a friend's house where they can maybe camp in the backyard or something. You know, I guess that would be ideal. And I would think that an organization that's giving out tents to people who are unhoused should have some property to let them set up on too. So there's like some, I don't know, I think Holyoke wants to give services, but at the same time we're creating all these new problems by enabling all these other things.
Well, one of those things, with on to what you were saying with the tents, I mean, I can't, speak for CHD on that. I can tell you that without shelter, all the shelters are full, that might be an ethical thing on their end. We don't collaborate with them to give tents, or anything like that. I did suggest to the mayor, because I believe this was across from a school or something, there were students that had to pass by this, that possible, maybe a no camping type of ordinance would be a little bit easier enforceable. If thinking a little bit more deeply into it, maybe it could be like within 100 feet from, 500 feet from a school or something like that. That was just an idea for that situation. I know currently after that happened, I know currently CHD is not giving tents to any residents and any unhoused in Holyoke since that situation.
Okay. Nicole?
So from a health perspective, I understand where it might seem like enabling, but it's a form of harm reduction. In the same token that we would give out Narcan, that we would give out condoms to kids. When we think of harm reduction, it's not enabling, it's helping. And you did say put a Band-Aid on it, and I agree with you in some aspects it is, but I can guarantee you that giving a tent out is not telling somebody to go out and sleep in the tent. It's giving it to somebody who is already sleeping outside without walls. It also was a way for these places, whoever gives out the tent, I don't want to say names, but let's say I was to give out a tent, that's an opportunity for the organization to then have a contact with that person, to meet the person, find out their needs, and then hopefully get them more, if that makes sense. It's not just here's a tent, go on your way. It's a form of harm reduction to say, who are you, where are you, why are you here, what is causing this, and then actually that forms a relationship to hopefully they can get housing. But there really is not housing. It's disturbing. There is just not housing. So right now the harm reduction focus is, we can't find a place for you to stay that's keep you healthy, alive, as best we can, provide a tent. And it's not the organizations, like I said, I cannot speak for them individually, but on a harm reduction sense, it's just saying let's keep you alive so we can figure out what the best option is. And it's a systemic issue. This isn't just us. It's, like as he said, it's nationwide right now. Yeah. But it is I like to think of it as it's a form of harm reduction.
One thing.
Councilor Rivera?
Yeah, I think the only thing for me, right, because I'm formerly incarcerated. I've been like through some of this. Some of these people, some of them were my cellmates, right? I think the problem that I run into is when I work on Main Street and when I see kids walking up and down Main Street and they witness this on a regular basis, this becomes normal to them, right? And that's the part that I have a problem with, because that is not normal. That is not normal in other communities. It may be, in a sense, somewhat normal in Holyoke, and I hate to say it that way, but for kids to walk by Lawrence School or by Morgan or by Kelly and to know what a syringe is and what it's for already at the age of 6 or 7, that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't fault any particular person that's in an unfortunate situation. To me, is how do we deal with it in a way where, yes, we are holistic and we're being, how do you say it? We're helping everyone, but at the same time, where it's not impacting our kids' future in a traumatic way, where later on this can impact them in negative ways. That's the only concern. That's where, like, for me, is like, I'm not against the shelter tent piece, because I wouldn't give it out if I was an ED of one of the organizations, just because it's like, that's a political backlash. I don't want to deal with that. But ultimately, it does make sense when someone doesn't have shelter and there's rain and there's all this stuff. I just wish it would be like in a spot where nobody can see, like where the kids can't see you at least. But I'm with y'all.
All right, thank you, Councilor Devine.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can do this right now, but I'm just reading over item number 3, and it really pertains to basically the same thing. Board of Health and Police Department come in, Public Safety Committee to discuss various issues in the community related to homelessness and how we can work towards better solutions. Have we is that,
Want to take it up as a package?
I think we should, it's the same thing.
Motion to take up item 2 and 3 as a package.
Second,
All in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Aye.
thank you.
So you just read item 3.
Item 3, hold on, let's go back. Councilor Bartley, did you,
I have to do anything. I just want to ask Tim a quick question.
okay. Item number 3, filed by Councilor Kevin Jordan and Councilor Carmen Ocasio, ordered that the Board of Health and Police Department come to the Public Safety Committee to discuss various issues in the community related to the homelessness and how we can work towards better solutions. As I see the maker of the order, Councilor Jordan, it's not online, it's not in chambers. Carmen Ocasio, not feeling well, she did reach out to me. So we are gonna take this up as a package.
Yeah, I think you should.
Motion that the orders are complied with. Coco, that's cool, right?
Second,
Yeah, that's fine with me. Thank
Well, I
you.
just want to ask.
Oh, go ahead. My
I
bad.
didn't know you
No, go ahead.
you're wrapping up.
I'm trying to be like you, Barley. We moving.
I hear you. No, that I tell you what, you got a good role model there. Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I just want to since you brought it up. You said you were a liaison to something rail related. Did I hear you?
No, I was almost acting like a liaison between the DPW and the rail division. I didn't want to be the liaison, but the mayor kept emailing me. So I was trying to say, yep,
What's the rail division, sir?
Mass DOT.
Oh, Mass DOT Rail Division.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, Mr. Councilor Given has said this because there's a lot of encampments probably around rail. They asked you to be okay. And just I hope you had a chance to see the order I filed last week to put a protective barrier around the rail platform here in the city of Holyoke. I hope you saw that, and hope that we're going to act upon it pretty quickly. I don't know if you've been by there recently, but pretty well a lot of evidence of people certainly have been living there. Certainly the gentleman with whom I traveled, Ben from Amherst, I can't forget pronounce his last name, but he pretty much trains in the valley, and he is such an expert on all this stuff. He's the one that pointed it out to me, and he said something's got to be done because people could be stepping out of there, and then a real tragedy happens. So we're hopeful that that'll get on point real soon. And the last thing, Madam Chair, can I just make a quick comment?
Sure.
So thank you, Tim. I didn't realize there was a rail division. I'll learn about that. What did we learn tonight? I just want you to, because you're the chair of this committee, and everybody here is really concerned. And I just want you to think and reflect on this meeting and this part. What did we learn? What I learned is that we're doing a lot of talking, that we're going to do a lot more talking with bigger groups, that we have no money, that everybody wants to do harm reduction, everybody wants to have a big heart, and if you don't have that big heart, if you're that person that comes out and says, but I don't hear anybody offering, how about my backyard? I have a very, very large backyard. I have a whole lot next to me that I own. I'm not offering it, but I'm just saying, is anyone else offering that? We all live in Holyoke, at least 1, 2, 5 of us here. I don't know about anybody else on this meeting, but I didn't hear one person offer their own space. I don't hear one department head coming out here saying, well, we've identified a space to help people. I don't hear anybody from the Veterans Memorial Building saying, well, we're going to open up, instead of 5 minutes before the ice storm comes in, well, we're going to open up a shelter. Where's the plan? So, it's all great to talk about this and feel good about how great Holyoke is welcoming and all that. makes us feel good to talk it out. This has been talked to death, and yet we're still killing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole?
I do live in Holyoke as well, just to note that. And harm reduction isn't new. It's not, necessarily about having a big heart. There are stats about it, statistics and facts that prove that it works. I get that we do need a solution. I agree that, the talking is getting ad nauseum. But there's a whole packet that we sent you guys that is great information. It can work in Holyoke, which is all of our backyards, all of us sitting here. And it is solutions that are here. So if we can, I just offer that is there, it's offered, there's facts, statistics, not opinions. So I hope that you guys will look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilor Rivera?
No, I just entertain that motion. Motion that item 2 and 3 are complied with now, if everybody's all set.
I'm all set.
So you second that, Patty?
Second?
Okay, what was I didn't hear.
2 and 3, item 2 and 3 are complied with?
Applied with second?
All in motion?
All in-
I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Nicole. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So are we gonna motion?
Motion to take up 4, 5, and 6?
Why they're the same?
They're all on the tobacco license.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we could do that.
Second.
Oh, second, my bad.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 4, filed by former Councilor Will Puello, ordered that the Board of Health/Health Commission please be invited to attend to discuss if changes are possible to the changes to the tobacco license issuance policy that supports common sense economic growth on a case-by-case basis and also protects public health. That they also please discuss syringe access and whether common sense changes can be made. That was referred back on June 4, 2024. Item number 5, filed by Councilor Dave Bartley on June 18, 2024, that the Board of Health/Health Commission please be invited to attend to discuss if changes are possible to the changes to the tobacco license issuance policy that supports common sense economic growth on case-by-case basis and also protects public health. This seems like the same as number 4, right?
It
Yeah.
is.
Okay. And item number 6, filed by Councilor Israel Rivera on June 4th, 2024, ordered that the health commissioners representing the Board of Health come into DGR and discuss the tobacco license issuance policy and how it may or may not align with the city's economic development plans around supporting small businesses, growth, and tourism.
So you want to go first, Bartley?
Yeah, I'll start. It's up to chair.
Yep. Councilor Dave Bartley?
I'm already running over your toes. Sorry about that. Okay, so the chair's absolutely right. So what happened was Will filed this. It got referred back, and then what I did was just I said because it looked like I thought it was given leave to withdraw. Maybe I guess it wasn't. So, but I refiled it. And I see Councilor Vera filed an order which is also on point. So I just want to point out for the public officials, and then is anyone familiar with the December 17th, 2016 BOH regulations concerning tobacco products? And if you weren't, don't feel bad about it. But I'm going to forward this to Jeff. There's got to be 30 whereases on here. We're not going to read all this. We'll be here for an hour. But we're going to skip down just a couple things that I just want you to consider. That's all. That's all. And I want the Board of Health to consider it, and maybe we can work together. What the Board of Health did via this document was it's their attempt to ban all tobacco sale products in Holyoke, to completely eliminate it. Well, why do you say that, Councilor Bartley? Well, because if you look at, let me just get to it, 11B on this document, which I know you don't have in front of you, it says as follows: as of November 3rd, 2016, any permit not renewed either because the retailer no longer sells tobacco or because the retailer closes a business shall be returned to the Holyoke Board of Health and shall be permanently retired by the Board of Health. Now, that is an unbelievable policy affecting businesses in every single ward. Tobacco, to the best of my knowledge, is still a legal product. I have not heard about any marijuana or cannabis reduction policies by the BOH. I don't even think the Board of Health has the, and they're using it as their own power to just stop it. I don't think they have that power. I don't think anyone's challenged them. I intend to challenge them through an ordinance change in the city, which would trump this. I'd rather not do that. I'd rather work with the BOH to try to figure out a way, and my suggestion is to remove this part. We'll set a cap, whatever, it used to be 80, and now every time somebody goes out of business, or if they don't sell their business on the exact site, that permit is gone for selling tobacco products. Now, whether or not you're a smoker, it doesn't matter. You're going to find a way to get tobacco products in every other community if they're banned from this city forever. But what is it doing? It's really impacting the small businesses of the city, in my opinion. And it's just another product they offer to get people in the door for convenience stores, bodegas, whatever you call them. I've got so many constituents and friends and clients in the business. I just think it's unfair. And I'll just end here, Madam Chair. If you notice on there, what gives them authority, because they point it out in here, and they point out Mass General Law, Chapter 111, Section 31, which the very first line, I had it 2 seconds ago. Of course, I don't have it now, but I'll get it. I'll get it right now. 1, 2, 3. The very first sentence says, boards of health may make reasonable health regulations. I don't think anybody disputes that. Is a reasonable health regulation that which they, in their words, retire every single permit? Is that reasonable? Does it even make sense when we know you can just get the product elsewhere? So when Dad was down in Boston, what he did was he would call the sale of tobacco, sale of alcohol, sales, they call them sin taxes. And the way they raised revenue was to add to the pack of cigarettes. Well, of course, the tobacco people, the salespeople, we're never going to sell. Well, of course, it went from $1 pack to whatever it is now. How much is it? I don't smoke cigarettes, so I don't even know what they cost, but they're $12, $13, $15?
For a pack, I saw that today.
Is that what it is for a pack?
It was 13-something a pack.
Oh, okay, so it's been shown over the course of decades that you can generate revenue, perhaps generating revenue even for homeless prevention. Who knows? But we could generate revenue locally through the so-called sin taxes, but not in Holyoke, not because of the Board of Health. Board of Health wants all this to go bye-bye. I think that's got to be amended. I would rather have it amended at the Board of Health level, but if not, I'll file an ordinance change, and we'll see where it leads, and then there'll be a little battle of wills. So that's what Will was asking for. And I followed up with it, and I see Councilor Rivera is just asking questions. I'm not putting words in Councilor Rivera's mouth, no chance. But he's just asking questions, and his question is on here, come in to discuss tobacco license issuance policy and how it may or may not align with the city's economic development plans around supporting small business growth. That was a very neatly worded sentence, Councilor, I have to admit that. But it just shows that I've heard it. I've heard it from constituents. I've heard it from businesses. This is having a serious impact, and I think it's got to be reviewed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So for me, and first of all, thank you for the compliments. I don't get many, so I'm gonna take that. No, I know, but I'm saying thank you. Oh, but on mic though. No, but I got you, Dave. I got you, Dave. So one of the reasons I saw the order filed by former counselor, and then I saw that you had wanted to, Counselor Bartley wanted to rehash it, to have the conversation. I think I had a couple constituents that just opened new businesses downtown. I think on Main Street was one of them, who was asking me like, hey, why can't I get a tobacco license? Like, I literally opened this bodega thinking that I'd be able to get my tobacco license and my EBT license. And that's where we actually make our money. But apparently I can't get a tobacco license. So for me, that's what, like, seeing the orders filed and then getting the questions from the constituents, and then watching like how we're now doing strategic planning for the whole city, and we want to do a 5-year plan or whatever it is. Like, how are we aligning everything, our policies? Because even with in the future, there's going to be able to be smoking indoors of cannabis, but we have policies where you can't smoke indoors within this community. So it's like, how are we planning to make things align in a way where it's more functional for ourselves economically, but at the same time paying attention to the health issues? I totally agree with one of the points that Councilor Bartley made about the revenue piece, right? A good example is Games or Dutchess, the flavored tobaccos or whatnot they want to call it. At one point they were $1.50, $2, but then when we made the policy that you can't sell them less than $5 or something like that, there was a certain policy that came forward from the Board of Health that now that at the gas stations, they'll sell you that same pack that says $1.99 on it for $5. Who's making the extra revenue? Not we are. Well, like, the city's not taking in that extra revenue. So what happens? I used to drive the Chicopee and pay $1 for that same pack that I'd pay $5. So it's like, I would pay the $5 here, and if the revenue goes straight to the city, the extra revenue should go to the city. There should be a piece where we're taking that in, if that's the case, if we're putting a policy forward, right, that's going to pretty much change the landscape. I didn't see that piece about possibly eliminating tobacco altogether, but there's other policies coming forward. I don't smoke tobacco. I'm not a fan of tobacco at all. But honestly, there's a space where we're handing out liquor licenses throughout the community right now to get people to come in. We're even creating new districts where people can get liquor licenses. It's kind of like an oxymoron for me. So I'm just trying to like line it up and see what conversations are being had with the city and with economic development to see how everything lines up with our goals and our missions for the future. And thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Devine?
Yeah, Councilor Bartley read over the ordinance. Was that the ordinance that you read over, or the law?
There's the regulations from
Oh, okay.
the regulation from the Board of Health.
Okay, and my question would be, and Councilor Rivera, Izzy Rivera may be able to answer this, if somebody was denied a tobacco license, did they check to find out why? And I don't know if this is in the ordinance, but there may be a possibility of putting in an appeal to the Board of Health, to the commissioners, to go to them and say, this is why I want to appeal. I see Tim shaking his head, so hopefully that was a good suggestion I had. So something like that may help a person like that open up the store, as well as changing the ordinance.
So the convenience store that you were talking about, they didn't get a tobacco permit. I did the inspection a month after they opened, and they were smoking in the bathroom. We did offer them a hearing with the Board of Health. I believe it was our last meeting, and they didn't show up. We did call them about it, and he said that he was thinking about not being a convenience store anymore, and he was wanting to do something else, and he was on the fence, and he would let us know. The board decided to not make any decisions because he wasn't available to discuss what his, his side of how he felt about it.
All right, thank you.
So, real quick, so you can't smoke in your own bathroom?
Not in a food business, no. You're inside in a
Oh,
food.
it's food. Okay.
Yeah, it was a convenience store that he had opened, and I had to tell him he couldn't smoke. He had a ashtray in the bathroom and cigarette butts and stuff. And then, with the tobacco permits, this has been in effect for a while. Did you guys get the packet of stuff? Just showing the environmental justice areas on the map, trying to, opposite of I know you guys are thinking economic growth and development, but as the Board of Health, we're trying to, part of the loss of the tobacco things is kind of, trying to focus on those same social influences and ads and stuff. In some of the packet, you'll see those, how ads affect young people with the permit density. That's some good reading material to help with that as well. The goal is health on our end, as far as, tobacco and economic development. Like, I read one of them that said to make sense in a public health, and I don't think that public health and making sense with upping tobacco permits. That's my personal opinion. I'll refer to the board because they're the ones who make the decisions on the tobacco regulations.
Councilor Bartley?
Yeah, just to chair to Mr. Rivers. So, Mr. Rivers, you want to comment on the policy of 11B? Are you familiar with it?
Is that what they're sending? I don't have anything on that. The board hasn't discussed anything about eliminating tobacco in a smoke-free future. I did see that letter that came to us, but that's all. We haven't discussed that at all.
So yeah, and that's fair. So I guess what I'm going to do, with the chair's permission, is that I'll email this policy to Jeff, and I'll ask Jeff to forward this to Mr. Rivers, and then we'll have a discussion, Mr. Rivers, online and all the rest of that, and then with and you'll tell me whether or not you'll put this back before it'll be put back before the Board of Health to revisit this policy, which again states when a retailer closes a business, the permit is going to be returned and shall be permanently retired. That is, and you're citing here Chapter 111, Section 31, to make reasonable regulations. I'm going to suggest that's not reasonable, but I would ask the Board of Health to consider that policy and then circle back after a vote, whatever the vote is, and then I'll keep my powder dry until I hear from the Board of Health on that one, if that's fair.
Izzy has a question.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes, thank you. I think, and I know that the effort is a noble one, right? Where we're trying to look out for the best interests of the whole, health-wise, right? But I think for me, it's inconsistent where we're not doing this to McDonald's. We're not doing this to all these other agencies that are actually poisoning the community at a way larger extent. So, like, I sit here and I look at it and it's like we're picking and choosing certain things. When I have elderly people come to me and say, I can't buy Newports anymore in Holyoke, and they say to me that's racist because, we buy Newports and not Marlboros. And I'll sit there and I'll say, I don't think it's racist. I don't think that was the intention. And I'm trying to explain that. But in reality, how are they to not take it that way when in these communities, certain communities, it's like if the population that does use these particular issues are things that are issues to the Board of Health or to the health department, someone else is making the decision for them based on these health standards or issues, right? And it's crazy when we put everything to the ballot, but something like this, the people don't actually technically have a voice. But just, I don't know, I guess. Thank you.
I think Lori wants to add to this.
Okay, Mr. Osborne, go ahead.
There, I unmuted now. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Laurie Osborne. I'm a new kid on the block for the Board of Health team. I'm a retired physician and unfortunately am not as qualified as the last guy because I do not speak Spanish. I'm sorry. My comments, I certainly would be open to new tobacco licenses, but I feel very strongly that only open to it if I understand from the local community that they're okay with it, that it's a hell of a long way from the schools, and that the local community supports it. That is the parents of the kids in any nearby schools. I wasn't under the impression that retiring a license meant that nobody could apply for another one. A different party couldn't apply for another one. But again, I'm not an attorney. But I certainly would be willing to look at it on a case-by-case basis. But I also want to say, as the new kid on the block, I'm going to suspend any final comments or judgment. But I strongly associate myself with Tim and Nicole's comments about the previous issue. And my attendance at the Board of Health meetings so far is I'm very impressed with both their toughness and their kindness. It's a wonderful combination. They're very sensitive. They've been very sensitive about economic stuff in the community. I certainly am too, and Holyoke does deserve to grow. It's a wonderful city. You've been here for 20 years, and I was honored to be asked to be on the board. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any?
I'd like to make a motion, unless there's another question. I was going to make a motion that these three be tabled until we get any more information that Counselor Bartley may have and Tim may have, but when we come back to this issue, that perhaps the whole Board of Health could be here in addition to Tim to discuss this. And I appreciate Mr. Osborne's dedication.
Council
Can
Barton?
I follow up on that?
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with Patty completely on that, and I'm glad that Dr. Osborne's on board. And my only thought about, sometimes when you have commissions all at a subcommittee meeting, we've always worried about whether or not we have an open meeting law thing, you know.
Yeah.
At least we have one or two commissioners, whatever. I don't know what, I think it's three, but at least we have one or two. But I was going to say, tabling it, I didn't even think you would, so I thought okay, so that's good. It's going to be tabled. I'm good to go with that. I think Will's, you can move it forward, because at least just get one out of the jacket, right? So you can move that forward, Madam Chair. And then myself and Mr. Rivera, we can maybe leave here for, you all need to see that regulation. You got to read it yourself. There's no way you would know that because none of you were here. So, okay, so I'll forward all this to Jeff.
Okay.
I'll do it tomorrow morning.
So
I
we'll
did
have,
highlight the regulation in the packet as well. If you look at the packet, I highlighted the regulation that was in question. It's
Oh, I see, 4, 5, and 6, yep.
Yeah, I don't even have. the
it's on
packet.
11, maximum number. It's like
Pretty
page
big,
4.
so Jeff will get that for you.
Okay. But I'll forward it to you.
okay.
I'll forward it to Jeff.
So we'll have item 4, lead to withdraw.
Second?
Well, yeah,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
And then we'll have item 5 and 6, we're going to be tabled.
Motion to table item 5 and 6.
Second?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Motion to take item 7, 8, and 9 as a package.
Okay, second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 7, filed
Motion
by,
take up 10 too.
and 10 as well.
10-2, that's what I meant, my bad.
Okay.
All right. So item 7, filed by former Counselor Todd McGee, order that the Board of Health, Community Development, and Mayor do a survey of City Hall and the Annex Building in order to prioritize the top needs for improvements of the two buildings. Examples, elevator, mold removal, carpets, etc. That was tabled back on June 21st, 2023, referred back on June 4th, 2024. Item number 8, filed by former Counselor Todd McGee, former Counselor Leahy, former Counselor Tallman. Ordered was done November 21st, 2017. Ordered that the Captain Moriarty provide an updated list of safety options and procedures to put in place to deal with security/safety at the City Hall, subcommittee meetings and full council meetings tabled back on June 8th, 2020, as well as August 25th, 2021, executive sessions. Item number 9, filed by former Counselor Leahy, October 17, 2017, ordered the surveillance cameras be installed in the quarters at the City Hall and the Annex Building. This was tabled June 8th, 2020, as well as August 25th, 2021, in an executive session. And item number 10, also filed by former Counselor Leahy, October 17, 2017, ordered that an emergency button be installed in the City Council chambers, tabled back on June 8th, 2020, and August 25th, 2021, an executive session.
Can I make a motion to take out of order item number 10 and have that complied with? It's about the emergency button.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't actually think there's anybody here for item 9 or 8, unless Jeff, do you know?
Yeah, so 8, 9, and 10 were all discussed at the same executive session back in August of 2021. And those minutes were just released
Okay.
when you all discussed those. And so my conversation with Chair Rivera was that since those executive session minutes were released, it probably made sense to just have all 3 of those complied with, since they are pretty old orders anyway.
All right.
And if the discussion was to be had again, maybe somebody could refile one.
Okay. So motion to comply with, have 8, 9, and 10 comply.
7, 8, and 9?
No, not 7. It's 8, 9, and 10.
10 we already did.
Yeah.
Well,
We
yeah,
already
so 8 and
complied.
9. Yep. Well,
Yeah.
so 8 and 9.
So what about 7?
We'll take that one up in a second because that one is a little different.
Okay. So 8, 9, and 10, I got it. Okay.
So a motion to have item 8 and 9 complied with. 10 we just did.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And then go ahead.
And then item 7, filed, like it said, by former Counselor McGee, order that the Board of Health, Community Development, Mayor do a survey of the City Hall and the Annex Building in order to prioritize the top needs for improvements of the two buildings.
Jeff, do we have an update on that? Because if not, then I will motion to table it. Because there's only Tim here, and I don't think Tim can speak on all of those aspects.
Yeah, so there was the health aspect to this. There isn't somebody else on to talk about this though, other than Tim.
So then, if it's okay with you, Tim, I don't know if you're listening still, I'm going to motion to table it and allow you to just go. So that way, when everyone else comes together, you guys can all present together, unless you want to do it now.
I'll second
You're muted.
that. I'll second his motion.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to table it, and let me follow up with them as well, so we can
Perfect.
all be on the same page.
Thank you. So motion to table item 7.
Okay. Second? Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, Tim.
And
Thank you.
motion to take up item,
16.
so we'll take it off the table, item 16.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You said
Item 16, yes. Filed by Councilor Anderson Burgos, January 18, 2022. Ordered that Suez and the Holyoke Housing Authority meet with the Public Safety Committee to discuss how to fix the flooding issues that residents from Bolden Village have been experiencing for years. This was referred to Public Safety, copy to Suez and Holyoke Housing Authority, tabled February 16, 2022. And
So,
Motion that's been complied with?
Councilor Anderson Burgo had asked for us to make this one complied with because he reached out to the resident and he said the issue is no longer an issue. So, yeah, I'll second that motion that Patty made.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion to meeting is adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
You guys have a good
Have a
night.
good night.
Thank you.